Alright, everybody. Good afternoon. It's Andrew here. Today we're going to be talking about the potential for a strong tornado threat tomorrow afternoon and into the evening. So we have an enhanced risk of severe weather across Louisiana and Mississippi. There are about 2 million people in this enhanced risk, and then we have about 7 million other people within the slight risk. Of course, the enhanced risk is driven by significant tornadoes. There's also potential for numerous damaging wind gusts and some scattered large hail. SPC is expecting several tornadoes, a few of which could be strong, some large hail, and damaging winds as well. Why don't we go to the ArkLaTex and kind of start us off with that. We'll kind of talk about some of the stuff synoptically as well. We should probably start off with the NAM synoptically. Yeah, we'll go with the NAM synoptic-wise. I think the NAM tends to do a good job with the synoptics in general. So here we are tomorrow afternoon around 21Z. We have a strong low pressure system here, or strong upper level low centered in Kansas, Oklahoma, with a very strong jet streak blasting across the southeastern United States. We have a shortwave impulse that is in this region here, which is going to be kind of the area to watch ahead of the system. And then we have the cold front, which is located back along the Texas-Louisiana border as well. Along this shortwave impulse, you're going to have a low-level jet that in the evening will reach pretty high. Actually, the NAM is a little bit weak on the low-level jet. I think it's probably a little bit underdoing it. The low-level jet in the afternoon is going to be centered along that shortwave impulse there in eastern Louisiana, which the ArkLaTex really picks up with that 70-knot mean flow. Now, moving into things a little bit more outside of the synoptic range, we can see that there's probably going to be a couple areas of supercells, one of which along a cold front, which might be more quasi-linear development, and then one along a confluence band, which you can clearly see there in eastern Louisiana with all these mini supercell-type features blowing up. Now, at the surface, you can also clearly see that confluence band. You can see the cold front, or actually it's a dry line at this point, my bad. There's a a cold front. It's located like right here. You have a confluence band right here, and then you also have a dry line which is located along the low pressure system, which there's two different lows. There's one back here, and then there's also one over here. I think this one's more of a meso low, this one's more actual low. This is pushing moisture up in the upper 60s and low 70s on land. Which is giving way to a strong amount of instability for the time of year, 1,000 plus joules per kilogram. The best overlap of instability is going to be in eastern Louisiana, where we're going to have stronger wind shear alongside it, and you can see that with the EHI parameter. The EHI parameter is maxing out really in eastern Louisiana along that confluence band, and if we take a box sounding along that confluence band in eastern Louisiana, we can see that conditions will be favorable for tornadoes. We have modest instability of around 1,000 joules per kilogram mixed layer CAPE, which you can see around from 11 kilometers to the surface. There are issues with our lapse rates, especially within the first 3 kilometers. You can see really anywhere from here to here we have a little bit of warm air aloft, which could hinder development of these stronger supercells. I think what also is going to happen is, since we have a lot of saturation within the first 3 kilometers, we're going to have a lot of messy storm modes. And the messy storm modes will create a lot of havoc because storms won't get established inflow. Now, any storms that can merge with each other and then have a clear inflow for a bit and turn right with the mean hodograph motion, because storms are going to be moving northeast at first. They're going to need to turn to the right and move a little bit more like that to get that streamwise vorticity needed to drop a stronger tornado. The winds at the surface aren't the most backed in some spots, but they are backed enough, and we have enough streamwise vorticity to support a strong tornado threat. The hodographs are very good, reminiscent of November 29th of last year, but overall the setup is a bit different. And again, low-level instability is a concern. Widespread is probably around 50 joules per kilogram. Along the cold front further to the west, though, it is a lot stronger, but along the cold front, you have more straight-lined hodographs indicated by your wind barbs not even moving at all. And you can see your hodograph is pretty straight until about 3 kilometers or so. You get a little bit more movement to it. Back there along the cold front will support more large hail. Looking at the 0 to 3 kilometer UH tracks, we can see they are semi-strong, with the most amount of them being in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, right where the strongest tornado risk is with the SBC outlook. Going on into the SBC page, I'm going to jump around a little bit here. We're going to go to the HREF model. This is going to show us kind of where the highest concentration of our severe weather threat will be tomorrow. So, our UH tracks are kind of maxed out there in northern Louisiana. This is where we're expecting, this is where models are expecting the most significant updrafts to occur. They're also expecting it to last into central Mississippi, so I would say this area is going to be the area to watch tomorrow. Maybe a little bit further to the south, maybe a little bit further to the north and west. We'll have to see. This time of the year, STP is not as useful as it is earlier on this year, but it does give us a good picture. We have values of around 2 on the HREF, which is pretty significant, and then they stay overnight as well. So we're going to have a tornado threat probably for a long time. And I can show this in the HRRR model here. Why don't we go to the forecast loop? So tonight we're expecting some storms to fire off in Oklahoma. Probably just a hail threat and maybe some wind gusts. I don't know. Looks like these are just going to be elevated hailers. I'll look right now. Yeah, just an elevated hail threat with those storms. These are the storms to watch a little bit more closely in northwest Louisiana that fire up tomorrow afternoon, but those will still be more hail rated. Once we get around toward 18Z, these right here will be the storms to watch for a tornado threat. 18, 19Z. This is around like 1 or 2 o'clock. We can see the photographs are starting to become more favorable, and we can also see the wind and the thermodynamics are becoming more favorable. As we get into the evening in eastern Louisiana, kind of western Mississippi, this is when our tornado threat's really going to start to ramp up, and into more eastern Louisiana as well. I'm just trying to get soundings here to kind of showcase the area that we have. And we can see this tornado threat will probably continue well into the overnight hours. This is like 7 o'clock, and we can still see we have large photographs, and we still have a decent amount of instability to where we're going to have enough convective energy for these updrafts to thrive with. And we can see even overnight in southeastern Mississippi, we'll take another sounding there. Again, enlarged photograph, thermodynamic profile, which will support some sort of severe weather activity still. And we might even see severe weather all the way up into Tennessee with those storms, as those will be dynamically driven with those large photographs and damaging wind threat. The tornado threat will probably continue on into the early morning hours, and let's move over into the southeastern sector now to kind of talk about that area. Once we get into the early morning hours, we can probably see a few supercells that will kind of move on shore ahead of the line of storms in western Florida. These will probably have some water spouts with them, and then we'll have the western Florida Panhandle, eastern kind of Alabama area with decent level of instability that will have a threat. And yeah, so clearly the severe threat will continue into the morning hours. That will do it for this video. I'll end it off with showing you that there is a marginal risk on Tuesday into the Florida, Alabama, Mississippi regions for that damaging wind and tornado threat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.